Nithin Parthasarathy started his non-profit Zero Waste initiative with the aim to rescue food waste and reduce food insecurity while sustaining the environment. His Zero Waste initiative has been featured in the media, community news articles and TV, and has won recognition through numerous awards, including a Global Youth Award in 2021 for empowering change. And he joins me today. Welcome, Nithin. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, yeah. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited.
Oh, it's really, really wonderful to have another of our Global Youth Award winners here. Nithin, you're clearly very passionate about making change in the world. Where does your passion come from?
Yeah, so I would say the source of my passion comes from my parents. They're like clear events in my life that have definitely led me to start the Zero Waste Initiative. But the people that have like always told me don't waste your food, there are people in the world who really need food, and so we should always make sure that the food that we have we don't take for granted. And that is my parents. So the source of all this my passion is my parents. Like whenever I came home without finishing my lunch, I couldn't do anything except they made me sit down and finish my lunch before I could do anything else. They made sure that I didn't take too much food, that I always ate exactly as much food as I need and never more, because then that leads to more wastage, because not eating too much food is a form of waste in a way.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And you know, it's an interesting thing because people always take more than they need, and that's where the wastage comes from. So it's wonderful that you had obviously some excellent guidance from your parents in that respect. So obviously that was your starting point in understanding that, you know, the importance of eating food and not having waste. But what gave you the idea to come up with the Zero Waste Initiative as a solution to food poverty?
Yeah, so like along with my parents, the events I was mentioning before, those are the ones that led me to start the Zero Waste Initiative. So the first one was when I was really young. I was around second or third grade. I was 8, and so I was in India eating, visiting my grandparents, and we went to an outdoor restaurant. And so inside that like gates of that outdoor restaurant, there were people eating, but there were also hungry children on the outside staring inside, which really bothered me because there were some people who just got up and left without their food finished. They didn't really seem to care that there were hungry children outside. They just left their food half eaten. And so that's something that really stuck with me when I was a child and made me really aware of those disparities there. And so later, around the beginning of 2020, I went to a Brugger's bagel shop here where I live in California. And so I ordered a skinny bagel because I heard that it's just a way of making the bagel slightly less like big, and I wasn't really hungry at that time, so I just wanted a smaller bagel. And then I noticed that they chopped off parts of the bagel, instead of reusing them, they just threw away those chopped off parts. And that made me feel really bad because I had contributed to that waste. And so I had asked, what do you guys do with those bagels you can't sell? Because if they just throw away those parts of the bagels they can't use, I assumed that they just threw away the bagels they couldn't sell at the end of the day. And I was right. And I really did not want that to happen anymore, because that's so many bagels gone to waste every day. So that's when I got the idea that this food should be redistributed to the people who really need it.
That's incredible. And yeah, I mean, you know, the idea of ordering something that's smaller so you're not wasting food and then seeing the food go to waste anyway. Yeah, you know, incredible that there's so much poverty in the world, and so many people are going hungry when there's so much food going to landfill as well. Which kind of leads me on to my next question, really, because obviously, you know, I can see where the roots are in terms of the food wastage and seeing people that are hungry. As somebody who lived in India myself for a few years, I saw a lot of poverty there. So I remember seeing that difference between larger people leaving a restaurant, having over ordered on their food, and then you know, young people on the street having nothing as well. So I do really, that resonates with me a lot. But as well as helping those families that have got food poverty, because obviously that's a big problem that we need to solve in the world, you've also saved so much food from going to landfill. How much was the environmental impact factor when you set up Zero Waste?
Yeah. So when I set up the Zero Waste Initiative, the 3 goals I had in mind were food waste, food insecurity, and environmental sustainability. So it was definitely a huge part of what the core values of the Zero Waste Initiative are. In fact, like the environmental impact of food waste is huge. A statistic I know off the top of my mind is that around 20 to 25% of our water consumption for food every year is ultimately gone into our food waste, which is huge. 1/5 of our water consumption is wasted, which is huge. So it's definitely a like huge detrimental impact on the environment. Food waste is so it definitely was a huge part of what I took into account in the Zero Waste Initiative, because by saving this food, it not only goes to the people in need, but it also helps make sure that our environmental usage isn't also going to waste.
Gosh, that's a crazy statistic. I almost feel like some of these stats need to be on the back of food, so that people, when they're buying food, make sure that they don't buy too much and that they do make sure that they consume just what they need. And also, if there are leftovers, that they find ways to reuse them. Because when I was growing up as a kid, I remember my mum could make a new meal out of anything that was left over, which was incredible. So talk me through the Zero Waste Initiative as it stands now, because I know you've been running it for a while now. How does it operate from day to day, and what has been your impact so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how the Zero Waste Initiative operates is that every day we go into several stores in the Orange County, and we collect bagels from them. We also collect Dunkin' Donuts, and we used to collect Starbucks variety items during the pandemic when they couldn't donate it themselves. So we just go to these stores at the end of their work day, like around 2-ish p.m., around when they close. And then we would go collect those bagels, which happened to be like 2 full trash bags every day from each store. And then we would go directly to these organizations in the county. Some that are like on the national level, like the Salvation Army, and some other local rescue missions as well, for people in need. And we would go deliver those bagels on a daily basis to them. And so that's how we work on a day-to-day basis. And in the past almost 2.5 years since I started the initiative, we've collected over $300,000 worth of bagels. We recently hit that landmark, which is, I'm really proud of that, and I hope it rises even more.
Yeah, gosh, must be fantastically proud of that, and I can only imagine the good work that you're going to carry on doing in terms of that, with cost of living going up for everybody in every area. And just thinking about that figure is insane when you put it into bagels and Dunkin' Donuts, really. So, this is incredible what you're doing, and it must be making an impact on so many people's lives. But aside from the amazing work that you were doing with the Zero Waste Initiative, thinking about the world, bigger picture, if you could make one lasting change in the world, what would that be, and why would that be?
Yeah. And so, I mean, let's see. I already know that saying reducing food waste or food insecurity would kind of not be the best answer right now, because that's what I'm working on with the Zero Waste Initiative. So yeah, although I do want those to end, obviously I'll give a different answer for this.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope that the big change that people like that in the world is that people become more aware of their impact on others. And this kind of does affect food waste and food insecurity, obviously, because our impact, like our awareness of how much food we eat, and how much food we waste, could like help us realize that we do waste a lot on a day-to-day basis. Even more than just food, we waste a lot of water. We waste a lot of like necessities. We throw away stuff on a regular basis that we don't have to, like clothes, for example, or fast fashion. That also has a huge environmental impact, and is not a very sustainable process. So I think just people becoming more aware of their own effects of like on others and on the environment and on their surroundings is a big change that I hope to see in the world.
Yeah, amazing. And I've heard a quote actually, which is, we don't want one person doing zero waste, What we need is everybody doing it imperfectly. So at least everybody's raising their awareness and doing everything. And, you know, everything that you just said is, if people start to raise their awareness and just be a little bit more careful, I think we've become so throwaway, haven't we, that people are starting to pull back a little bit and reduce, reuse, recycle and all of that. But definitely that would be the one thing to make an impact on the world. So that's amazing. And so in terms of the Zero Waste Initiative, I know you've grown a lot over the 2.5 years, and I think it's amazing that you're going to organisations and leaving with 2 bin bags full of food with all of the organisations that you're already working with. So I think really, you know, what people will want to know is how can they get involved, or if they can't get involved, how can they support the work that you're doing currently?
Yeah, for sure. There's always ways for a lot of people to be involved within the zero waste like lifestyle, as well as like the zero waste initiative as a whole. I'd say that if you're in the local area in Southern California, you could definitely reach out for sure to me. I'd love to expand even not even just in Southern California, even around the world. If you are willing to go to stores, figure out if they are throwing away their baked goods, their like the food that doesn't easily spoil, and if you're willing to donate it to people in need in your community, I definitely suggest you should do that. I know it can be, especially like during these times, a lot of time commitment on a daily, day-to-day basis. When I first started the initiative, that was definitely one of the challenges I had to overcome, was to go every day with myself and my parents. But luckily there were some friends and volunteers that quickly learned and joined me. So definitely, if you and like a couple of people in your community want to help out, that's definitely a great way to get involved. Another way, even if that is a little bit too much for a person individually, another way to just help the cause is to be aware of your own wastage as well. Because like I was mentioning before, we all have a huge impact on our surroundings that we may or may not know. So making sure that we waste as little food as possible, we waste as little water as possible, we take into account what has to be thrown away and what can be donated or reused or recycled. And that could go a really long way in the initiative. You don't necessarily have to be going out and collecting food every day. What we do in our own homes could make just as big as an impact.
Amazing. And what an amazing legacy. I love the idea of zero waste initiatives popping up all over the world. As you know, we work with a lot of young people, and I know that there are so many young people in the world that would really, really like to do things to make a change. So I'm going to recommend to all of them that are reading this or watching this that they get in touch with you and find out how they can start their very own zero waste initiative in the towns and countries that they're working in. So thank you so much, Nithin. I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. It's a delight to have you involved with the Global Youth Awards and as a Global Youth Ambassador. And I hope that we will catch up soon and I can find out if that number has gone up in great leaps and bounds. So thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. It was my pleasure and honor being here.
Beautiful. Thanks, Nithin.